event that Ms. Sham did bring. Matthew 19.
Comments or thoughts?
I would second that, Ms. Wood. I agree. That great work in this budget, and thanks for all the hard work you guys have put into this.
Well, as I've mentioned in the past, I'd appreciate one more level of detail for the budget, and I recognize the importance of getting it approved quickly so the city can get on with doing their work. But I would prefer more detail, so I will be abstaining.
Okay. Okay. So we'll have the roll call vote on the budget as amended. Lindsay?
Witten,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Koblenz,
Yes, ma'am.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Griswold,
Abstain?
Foreman,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Robert Wilkins, 261 Denson Drive, Auburn, Alabama. Tonight, well, first of all, no property tax would be great. Okay, tonight we want to give you and fellow Alabamians some information about a crisis in Alabama. Pharmacy benefit managers, known as PBMs. They are the middlemen in the prescription drug industry. They don't produce anything, they don't build anything, they just dictate to local pharmacies how much they will be reimbursed for filling a prescription for the pharmacy customers. Your local pharmacies are more than the ones filling the prescription. They offer advice, they answer questions, and they help facilitate communication between the doctor. Locally owned pharmacies are at risk. Approximately 300 independent pharmacies have closed within the last 6 years in Alabama. Currently, about 500 independent pharmacies remain in Alabama. Their ability to operate is at risk because the PBMs force them to sign oppressive participation contracts to be allowed into the reimbursement networks. Pharmacies have gag orders that prevent them from discussing reasons they can fill your prescription or pricing unless the customer initiates the conversation. And even then, they face the possibility of the PBM throwing them out of the network anyway. Spread pricing is a practice where the PBMs charge the insurer a higher price than is, I'll go back. Where it charges the insurer a higher price than is reimbursed to the pharmacy. The PBMs keep the spread difference. They also have clawbacks. That is where the PBMs can come back months after the fact, and they say they overpaid the reimbursement to the pharmacy and claw back and even take money back. A local pharmacist recently had shared this PBM network, did a $150,000 clawback 9 months after the fact. Can you imagine paying back somebody $150,000 saying you were overpaid? You may have heard of some PBMs like Caremark with CVS or Express Scripts and Optimum RX, to name a few. You also have probably heard about some pharmacies going out of business like Winn-Dixie, Rite Aid, and Walgreens is actually struggling. PBMs favor some chain stores and mail order services. A real-life example for the unfair reimbursement is a cancer drug that costs $50. A local pharmacy like Costco could reimburse $97. A local drugstore in the network like CVS would be reimbursed $9,000, while the mail order services would be reimbursed $19,200.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins.
To the next slide. Susan Bolt, 1188 East University Drive. Next. That is just recapping what Robert was just talking about, where the local independent pharmacies get reimbursed $97. The preferred provider by the PBMs gets reimbursed $9,000, and then the mail order preferred by the PBM gets $19,200. So they're effectively putting that money back in their pockets. Pharmacies also, next one. Pharmacies are also scored for reimbursements. PBMs rate the pharmacies based on how well the customers take their medicine. So if a customer is trying to save money by stretching their prescription, the pharmacy may get a lower rating and therefore a lower percentage reimbursement, so they are tasked with also policing the customers to take their medicine as prescribed. Currently, there is no transparency of drug pricing or fair reimbursements. An employer such as the City of Auburn may receive a rebate, but the PBMs don't have to provide any documentation to justify the cost or the rebates. So the PBMs can keep part of that reimbursement without having to show any financial data. Just to FYI, Blue Cross Blue Shield is considered a nonprofit organization, so they don't have to provide financials even when requested. House Bill 238 would have corrected many of these issues for the local pharmacies, but it was indefinitely postponed May 7th of this year. In the meantime, local pharmacies are hurting financially, with some being reimbursed below their acquisition cost and some only making $10 per prescription filled. This all while the preferred PBM pharmacies are favored with huge reimbursements. A study group was meeting at the State House this past Thursday to discuss the topic. 5 pharmacists from around the state showed up to sit in and listen. They were made to leave the room. Who was allowed to stay, you ask? Lobbyists from Blue Cross Blue Shield, Business Council of Alabama, CVS, Alabama Farmers Association, and our very own Joe Lovern. Why the secrecy? Why was the public removed from the room? In July of 2024, the Federal Trade Commission released an interim staff report that found, and I quote, that the PBMs hold substantial influence over the independent pharmacies by imposing unfair, arbitrary, and harmful contractual terms that impact the independent pharmacies and ability to stay in business and serve their communities. So we're asking you to take action, call your local representatives. This could affect you and you being able to fill your prescription. We ask you to call the governor and ask for a special session to address this issue. Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, and 5 other states have already passed legislation to protect the independent pharmacies and their customers. I challenge you to speak to your local pharmacist and ask how the PBMs are affecting them, because it will ultimately affect you. Thank you.
Mr. Wilkins, I appreciate y'all bringing up the issue about PBMs. I think it's a very important issue that people need to be made aware of. We have 3 wonderful independent pharmacies in our community. And I know that all 3 of them are struggling greatly because of this issue. It's something that I would encourage the public to learn more about and consider calling your state representative and expressing your views on that. But thank you very much for bringing up this very important issue.
I'd be glad to answer any questions somebody have.
Sure. Thank you.
Martha Shamp, 307 Camellia Drive. A Christian has obligations to government. St. Paul teaches us in Romans chapter 13 that government has legitimate authority. Quote, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. St. Paul says the job of government is to punish and deter evildoers. He says government officials are God's minister. So y'all are God's minister. Y'all are part of government. City government of Auburn, Alabama. They are an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. It is through the just punishment of evil that government serves its function. It's God's plan of holding man's sinful tendencies in check. There is no authority except from God. The authorities that exist are appointed by God, so we as Christians should be subject to them. Justin Martyr writes, we pray that you, with your official power as mayor and council, you may be found to also possess sound judgment. This mayor and council were appointed by God. I plead with you to use your rightful position, use your influence, and use your authority for good to help the children of Auburn. I appeal to the virtues that you possess. I beg you to use it for the protection of minors. Consider tenderly the needs of children and what they should be seeing at the library. Thank you.
My name is Wynn Timberlake, and I live at 213 Lee Drive. Last month, I came up here and mentioned the situation with Seth McCulloch, who is the choir teacher at Drake Middle School. I wanted to explain the situation a little further to the council, just so you knew how it unfolded. A mother who had a son in his choir class learned that they were doing an activity during school that she found inappropriate for middle school age students. And so she decided to look into Seth and kind of just say, who is this guy? Who is this person? And she found where he mentioned in a podcast that he had no issue with people talking to children behind parents' backs about issues of sexuality and identity. And he even went as far to say that he had no issue with people telling children or someone telling children that they should abandon relationships with their parents if a desired outcome wasn't met. And parents raised the issue to the school board over this, and the school board was totally silent. And I think they spoke to them for 2 months over this, and on the second month, which the school board meeting I attended, there was a male teacher who was suspended for speaking too loudly at younger male students who were about to engage in a fight. And he was intending to break up that fight, but he was suspended over it because of his voice volume. However, the school board, once again, was still silent on the issue that many parents were raising concerns about. And that's just something that everyone's been kind of noting. Furthermore, the situation begs a question over the vetting process for any school staff that has direct contact or influence over children. When it comes to protecting children from predators or predator enablers, a person's personal life is just as open to scrutiny as what's in their public records. Any beliefs and participation in organizations dictate how they interact with people or just children in general, and it must be properly evaluated. Seth was the sitting member of an organization called he was the president on the executive committee for an organization called Pride on the Plains, and this matters, of course, again, because Seth's statements reflect the views that are commonly held in other LGBT organizations like PFLAG or pretty much any of them. And I mean, there is another teacher that is on the board of that organization, and I actually checked to see if I could look at his information on the Auburn School's website, and whatever his profile may be is either wasn't ever there or it's been removed. And I find this concerning because to me it shows a concerted effort to either kind of put under the rug what was going on and the concerns people had.
Thank you, sir.
Just wanted to respond to Mr. Timberlake when he appeared before this body 2 weeks ago. I believe he stated something to the effect that he felt that there were 25% LGBTQ plus content in the teens nonfiction section of the library, and it prompted me to ask some questions about the content. And I know that in 2023 this council, all of us were fortunate enough to have a tour of our library, and I just wanted to of our library of 85,000 print collection, there is less than 0.5% of any content regarding LGBTQ plus and gender issues. With regards to the nonfiction teen section, there are some titles that have been moved to the teen section from younger readers, I believe at the request of the public. So that content does not make 3% in the teen nonfiction section. I just wanted to remind everybody of the degree of content in our library is reflective of our community. Thank you.
Bob, anyone else?
Ms. Bolt,
This is, September is Library Month, and I want to say thank you and commend the library staff at the Auburn Public Library for the rich diversity of not only their collection, but reflecting the rich diversity of this community. I appreciate in addition, I appreciate the variety of programs that are available to the community. I participated in the local authors programs, and it was a lot of fun to meet people who are living in Auburn and doing well in the literary realm. So thanks again to all the folks at the library for their hospitality and welcoming and providing for us a great collection.
Hi, I'm Deborah Beal, 802 Tullahoma Drive, and I wanted to particularly thank you for bringing up the Ruck March. It really means a lot to my family. I have a veteran in the family who's on 100% disability, and that issue comes up with those stresses, as well as with stresses caused in other areas with other organizations I'm involved in, and as you've witnessed tonight. Also, the library, I was here 2 months ago. Now it's the September through October Learning Challenge, where you can read again, log your 1,000 minutes, and now the weather eventually will start getting cooler, and you can get your little hoodie. And so I wanted to remind you all of that. But today I'm really here to talk about pickleball in the city of Auburn. I used to hear a lot about it, and I thought the people involved in it were in a cult, and because I'm sure you all agree. And then I started playing, and yes, it is a cult, and I'm a member now. So, and I've been playing for 3 years, and we've been playing on those cracked courts and out in the sun, and we are so excited. We know it's still going to be a couple months till we can get on those courts, but this weekend there were 33 people out there from 7:30 to 10 to play on the 20 available spots on the courts that we have now that are all cracked up. And on Labor Day, again from 7:30 to 10, there were 33 people out there to play. So that's 5 courts, 4 spots, 20 spots. And there's all these people waiting to play. And we're there that early because it's hot. But the covered courts will make our lives so much better next year. We appreciate the money that you gave towards that and allocated our funds that way. And that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you.